Have you ever wondered if the seemingly innocent routines you've maintained for years might actually be damaging your heart? Picture this. You wake up feeling fine, follow your usual morning habits, and go about your day never suspecting that these very routines are silently setting the stage for a cardiovascular catastrophe. My name is Dr. Richards, and after 3 decades as a cardiovascular specialist, I've witnessed a heartbreaking pattern among my patients over 60 years old. Just this month, I lost a patient named Edward at 74. He was vibrant, active with his grandchildren, and diligent about his annual checkups. Edward walked his dog twice daily, prepared what he believed were nutritious meals, and never missed taking his prescribed medications. Yet despite all his efforts, Edward suffered a massive heart attack while gardening in his backyard. Why? Because like 97% of older adults, Edward had unwittingly incorporated 10 deadly habits into his daily life. Routines so common that most healthcare providers don't even think to warn you about them. Today, I'm revealing these 10 silent cardiovascular assassins hiding in your everyday life. These aren't obvious dangers like chain smoking or consuming fast food for every meal. Instead, these are the subtle, seemingly innocent activities that medical professionals rarely discuss, but that could mean the difference between enjoying your golden years and becoming another heartbreaking statistic. By the time we finish today's discussion, you'll not only identify which habits are putting your heart at risk, but also possess practical, science-backed strategies to begin healing your cardiovascular system starting immediately. Before we delve into this potentially life-saving information, please take a moment to click the like button if you believe this knowledge could protect you or someone you care about. Your engagement helps this crucial information reach others who desperately need to hear it. And if you're committed to preserving your heart health, subscribe to this channel and activate notifications, so you'll receive more vital health insights that could literally extend your life by years. Let me begin with a thought-provoking question. How many times did you physically move yesterday? If you're like most adults in their 60s and beyond, your answer probably falls well below 4,000 steps. This brings us to our first deadly habit, one so normalized in modern society that we've completely stopped recognizing its dangers. The first deadly habit, destroying your heart, is embracing a stationary lifestyle and avoiding regular physical movement. I understand the common objections. You might think you're too advanced in age, excessively fatigued, or experiencing too much joint discomfort. However, here's what I observe in my cardiology practice on a daily basis. Patients who remain seated for more than 7 hours daily face a 70% elevated risk of cardiovascular disease. When movement becomes minimal in your routine, blood circulation slows dramatically through your vessels. Your cardiac muscle weakens because it isn't being adequately challenged. Your circulation deteriorates and dangerous clots can develop in your lower extremities, potentially traveling directly to your heart or brain. Consider Thomas, a patient who nearly learned this lesson too late. At 76, Thomas dedicated most of his waking hours to watching television programs or solving crossword puzzles in his recliner. He insisted that structured exercise was pointless at his stage of life. 4 months later, Thomas experienced a severe cardiac event that simple prevention could have avoided. The straightforward act of walking just 25 minutes daily can decrease your heart attack risk by 40%. Your heart functions as a muscle that requires regular activity to maintain its strength. The solution is remarkably simple. Begin with just 8 minutes of walking following each meal. This doesn't require intense exertion or jogging. A gentle stroll around your neighborhood or even pacing in place while watching your evening programs can create significant improvements. Your cardiovascular system will respond positively. Your circulation will enhance, and you'll likely discover increased energy throughout your day. But what if I told you that moving more won't save your heart if you're simultaneously sabotaging it with the second deadly habit? The second life-threatening habit involves consuming excessive hidden sodium, particularly dangerous because most older adults remain completely unaware of how much salt they're actually ingesting. Health authorities recommend limiting sodium, 2 to 1,000 milligrams daily. Yet the typical senior consumes over 3,600 milligrams every day. This extra sodium essentially forces your heart to operate on perpetual overtime. When your salt consumption exceeds healthy levels, your body retains additional fluid to dilute the sodium concentration. This increased fluid volume means your heart must work harder to circulate this extra liquid throughout your system. Over time, this heightened workload causes elevated blood pressure, arterial wall thickening, and dramatically increases your risk of heart attacks and strokes. The most concerning aspect of this habit is that the majority of sodium intake doesn't come from your table salt shaker. It's concealed in processed foods, canned soups, frozen meals, commercial bread products, and even seemingly nutritious options, like cottage cheese and breakfast cereals. That innocent-appearing bowl of canned soup contains nearly half your entire daily sodium allowance. Those crackers you enjoy with afternoon tea are loaded with hidden salt, steadily damaging your cardiovascular system. Consider Richard, a 16-year-old retired professor who visited me with dangerously elevated blood pressure. He insisted he never added salt to his meals and couldn't comprehend why his numbers remained consistently high. When examining his dietary habits, we discovered he was consuming over 4,200 milligrams of sodium daily just from packaged and processed foods. Within 12 weeks of switching to fresh whole foods and using herbs and spices for flavoring instead of salt, Richard's blood pressure decreased by 35 points, allowing him to reduce his medication dosage. Start carefully reading every food label and select fresh options whenever possible. Utilize garlic, herbs, lemon juice, and other natural flavor enhancers rather than reaching for salt. Your taste preferences will adjust within approximately 3 weeks, and your heart will immediately benefit from the reduced workload. If you're finding this information valuable, please consider hitting that like button now and subscribing to our channel. Your support allows us to continue providing this crucial health information that most doctors simply don't have time to discuss during brief appointments. Now, let's continue with our third deadly habit, one that occurs in kitchens nationwide every single morning. The third deadly habit involves beginning your day with what essentially amounts to a cardiovascular attack on a plate. Commonly known as the traditional breakfast, the standard morning meal consisting of bacon strips, sausage links, eggs, fried in butter, hash browns, and white toast isn't merely unhealthy. It's a direct assault on your cardiovascular system that establishes how your heart will struggle throughout the entire day. These foods contain saturated fats, cholesterol, and processed chemicals that immediately begin obstructing your arteries and forcing your heart to work significantly harder than necessary. When consuming a high-fat, high-cholesterol breakfast, your blood becomes thick and sluggish. Your arteries constrict, attempting to manage the increased workload, and your blood pressure spikes. This morning surge in blood pressure and arterial stress coincides with when most heart attacks occur. It's not coincidental that the majority of cardiac events happen between 6 and 10 in the morning, shortly after people have consumed their daily dose of arterial damage. Consider Elizabeth, a 70-year-old grandmother who sought my help after experiencing chest discomfort every morning. She couldn't understand why she felt perfectly fine in the evenings but struggled with discomfort and fatigue each morning. When tracking her symptoms, we discovered they consistently appeared within 90 minutes of her breakfast routine of scrambled eggs, bacon, and buttered toast. Her body was physically reacting to the inflammatory assault she unknowingly delivered. Every morning, the solution involves selecting foods that support your heart rather than attacking it. Steel-cut oatmeal with fresh berries and a small portion of nuts provides fiber that helps remove cholesterol from your system. Greek yogurt with fruit delivers protein without dangerous saturated fats. Whole grain toast with avocado supplies healthy fats that actually improve cardiovascular function. But what about that seemingly innocent evening habit you've been told might actually benefit your heart? The truth about this next habit might shock you. The fourth deadly habit is that nightly glass of wine or beer you've convinced yourself benefits your heart health. I've heard this justification countless times from patients. They mention reading somewhere that red wine contains beneficial antioxidants or that a beer helps them unwind after a stressful day. However, here's the reality that the alcohol industry conceals. Any potential benefits from moderate alcohol consumption are completely overshadowed by the cardiovascular damage it causes, particularly in adults over 60. As we age, our bodies process alcohol differently. Your liver becomes less efficient at metabolizing alcohol, meaning it remains in your system longer, causing increased damage. Alcohol elevates blood pressure, increases heart rate, and can trigger dangerous irregular heartbeats called arrhythmias. Even a single daily drink can increase your risk of atrial fibrillation by 18%. Atrial fibrillation significantly increases stroke risk and can lead to sudden cardiac failure. Michael, a 66-year-old retiree, insisted his 2 nightly beers helped him relax without causing problems. He consulted me after experiencing episodes of rapid heartbeat and dizziness. When monitoring his heart rhythm, we discovered dangerous arrhythmias corresponding directly with his evening drinking routine. Within 7 weeks of eliminating alcohol completely, Michael's heart rhythm stabilized, and his blood pressure decreased significantly. If you need relaxation assistance in the evening, consider herbal tea, meditation, or gentle stretching instead. Your heart requires rest and recovery time, not the additional stress that alcohol places on your cardiovascular system. But relaxation becomes impossible when dealing with the fifth deadly habit, which is literally consuming you from within. The fifth deadly habit involves internalizing your stress and anger rather than addressing it appropriately. I've encountered too many patients who pride themselves on stoicism and never displaying emotions, not realizing that suppressed stress represents one of the most dangerous threats to heart health. When containing anger, frustration, or chronic stress, your body remains in a constant fight-or-flight response state. This chronic stress response floods your system with cortisol and adrenaline, hormones that maintain elevated blood pressure, cause arterial inflammation, and force your heart to work overtime continuously. Chronic stress literally ages your cardiovascular system at an accelerated rate. People who suppress emotions have a 220% higher risk of heart disease compared to those expressing feelings in healthy ways. I'll be revealing 5 more critical habits in the next section, including the single most dangerous habit that's responsible for more preventable cardiac events than any other factor. And I'll share exactly how to break these patterns and strengthen your heart, starting today. If you've found value in this information, please take a moment to leave a super thanks. Your financial help supports our mission to bring health information to more people who urgently need it. Every contribution helps us extend our reach and potentially save more lives through vital health awareness. But what if I told you that the next 5 habits are even more dangerous than what we've covered so far? The 6th habit on our list might be happening while you sleep, silently damaging your heart night after night. The 6th deadly habit, wreaking havoc on your cardiovascular health, involves ignoring persistent snoring and refusing to address potential sleep apnea. This nighttime assassin damages countless hearts while people remain completely unaware. If your sleeping partner mentions that you snore loudly, periodically stop breathing during sleep, or gasp for air throughout the night, you're not merely disrupting their rest. You're gradually suffocating your cardiovascular system. Sleep apnea causes repeated breathing interruptions throughout the night, sometimes occurring hundreds of times. Each breathing cessation dramatically reduces your oxygen levels, sending your heart into crisis mode as it struggles to keep vital systems functioning. This continuous cycle of oxygen deprivation and desperate recovery places tremendous strain on your entire cardiovascular network. Individuals with untreated sleep apnea face a 35% higher risk of heart attack and a 55% higher risk of stroke. The repeated oxygen level drops cause your blood pressure to spike continuously throughout the night, eventually leading to permanent cardiovascular damage. Consider George, a 73-year-old retired engineer who consulted me about unexplained exhaustion and treatment-resistant hypertension. His wife mentioned his snoring had become so thunderous she relocated to a separate bedroom. A comprehensive sleep evaluation revealed George experienced breathing interruptions over 4 times hourly throughout the night. His heart was essentially running an ultramarathon every single night just to sustain basic functions. After initiating sleep apnea treatment with appropriate breathing support, George's blood pressure normalized, his energy returned, and his heart finally received the nightly recovery period it desperately required. If you experience loud snoring or wake feeling unrested despite adequate sleep duration, consult your healthcare provider about sleep evaluation. Addressing sleep apnea isn't merely about improving rest quality, it's about providing your heart the essential recovery time it needs for repair and regeneration. But even with perfect sleep, your heart remains vulnerable when exposed to the 7th deadly habit, which damages your cardiovascular system even when you're not directly responsible. The 7th deadly habit involves exposure to cigarette smoke, whether through personal smoking or regularly inhaling secondhand smoke. Even if you abandoned tobacco decades ago, continued exposure to other smoke still harms your heart. Secondhand smoke contains over 7,000 chemical compounds, hundreds classified as toxic and at least 70 known carcinogens. When inhaling cigarette smoke, these chemicals immediately enter your bloodstream and begin attacking your cardiovascular structure. The smoke increases blood clotting tendency, reduces oxygen carrying capacity, and triggers immediate arterial inflammation. Even brief secondhand smoke exposure can precipitate a cardiac event in individuals with existing heart conditions. Consider Catherine, a 75-year-old non-smoker who experienced recurring chest discomfort appearing randomly. Through detailed investigation, we discovered her symptoms consistently occurred following visits with her son, a heavy smoker. Despite spending only a few hours weekly in that smoke-filled environment, it sufficed to trigger dangerous cardiovascular reactions. After Catherine began meeting her son in smoke-free locations, her chest discomfort disappeared completely. If cohabitating with smokers, encourage cessation and insist they smoke outdoors away from shared spaces. If you continue smoking, understand that each cigarette essentially places your heart under immediate threat. Cessation is never too late, and your cardiovascular system begins healing within hours of your final cigarette. This brings us to the 8th deadly habit, which disrupts essential sleep patterns and accelerates cardiac aging more rapidly than almost any other factor. The 8th deadly habit involves evening exposure to blue light from electronic screens, disrupting natural sleep cycles and forcing your heart to operate over time when it should be recovering. When watching television, using tablets, or checking smartphones during pre-bedtime hours, the blue light wavelengths trick your brain into perceiving daytime conditions. This suppresses natural melatonin production and maintains your nervous system in an alert, stressed state precisely when it should be preparing for essential restoration. Poor sleep quality extends far beyond next-day fatigue. It directly damages your cardiovascular network. Without deep restorative sleep, blood pressure remains elevated throughout the night. Stress hormones maintain peak levels, and your heart never receives the opportunity to decelerate and recover from daily demands. Individuals averaging less than 6 hours of quality sleep nightly face a 52% higher risk of heart disease. Consider William, a 70-year-old retiree, complaining of persistent exhaustion despite spending 8 hours in bed each night. He couldn't understand why his blood pressure continued climbing despite medication adherence. Examining his bedtime habits revealed William spent 2 to 3 hours each evening reviewing news websites and social media on his tablet while in bed. The blue light exposure prevented deep sleep stage entry, essentially forcing his heart to operate continuously without proper recovery. Implement a digital sunset at home. Discontinue all screen usage at least 90 minutes before bedtime. Use soft, warm lighting during evening hours and maintain completely dark, cool sleeping conditions. Your cardiovascular system requires those deep sleep cycles for essential repair and regeneration, which remain impossible with artificial light disrupting natural rhythms. But what about the foods you consume throughout your day? The 9th deadly habit might be sitting in your kitchen right now. Despite appearing completely innocent, the 9th deadly habit involves regular consumption of ultra-processed foods, convenient snacks, and prepared meals, specifically engineered for addiction while simultaneously devastating your cardiovascular health. These products contain industrial, trans fats, excessive sodium, synthetic preservatives, and inflammatory compounds causing immediate arterial damage. The combination of elevated sodium, unhealthy fats, and chemical additives creates perfect conditions for cardiovascular deterioration. A single ultra-processed meal can cause arterial constriction lasting up to 5 hours afterward, while triggering dangerous spikes in blood pressure and systemic inflammation. Yet the most insidious aspect of these foods extends beyond immediate effects. They're literally designed for addiction. Food scientists have specifically engineered these products to activate pleasure centers in your brain, creating powerful cravings while simultaneously damaging your heart with each consumption. The more frequently you consume them, the stronger your cravings become, establishing a cycle extraordinarily difficult to break. Consider Dorothy, a 70-year-old widow, who increasingly relied on frozen dinners and convenience foods following her husband's passing. She explained that cooking for herself seemed purposeless, and these convenient options required minimal effort. Within 5 months, Dorothy's cholesterol reached alarming levels. Her blood pressure became dangerously elevated, and she experienced frequent chest discomfort. When we collaborated to replace just 60% of her processed food consumption with simple whole foods, her clinical indicators improved dramatically within 7 weeks. Begin gradually by replacing one processed meal daily with something fresh and A portion of baked fish with steamed vegetables requires minimal preparation, yet delivers enormous cardiovascular benefits compared to frozen meals containing excessive sodium and preservatives. If you're finding this information valuable, please consider leaving a super thanks to support our channel. Your financial contribution enables us to continue providing this potentially life-saving information to those who need it most. Every super thanks helps extend our reach and allows us to create more comprehensive health content that could literally save lives. Now we've reached the 10th and most dangerous habit, one so prevalent and devastating that it's responsible for more preventable cardiac events than any other single factor. The 10th and most lethal habit involves neglecting blood pressure monitoring and inconsistently taking prescribed cardiovascular medications. Hypertension earns its silent killer designation because it produces no noticeable symptoms while gradually destroying your entire cardiovascular network. Each day your blood pressure remains above 145/95, effectively places your arteries in a constant pressure cooker. This relentless pressure creates microscopic tears in arterial walls, which your body attempts to repair using cholesterol patches. Eventually, these patches accumulate into dangerous plaques that can rupture, causing heart attacks or strokes. Yet, I regularly encounter patients who skip blood pressure medications because they feel perfectly normal, or take them irregularly due to forgetfulness or concern about potential side effects. This behavior literally gambles with their survival. Uncontrolled hypertension increases heart attack risk by 320% and stroke risk by 750%. Consider Barbara, a 60-year-old who frequently skipped her blood pressure medication because she couldn't feel any difference whether she took it or not. She believed that since she experienced no symptoms, her condition wasn't serious. Within 8 months, Barbara suffered a severe stroke that proper medication adherence likely would have prevented. The unfortunate reality is that you won't feel high blood pressure damaging your arteries until a catastrophic event occurs. The solution requires commitment to consistent medication adherence and regular blood pressure monitoring. Consider using pill organizers, smartphone reminders, or linking medication times with existing daily habits like brushing teeth. Purchase an at-home blood pressure monitor and keep a log of your readings to share with your healthcare provider. These simple steps could literally save your life. Beyond these 10 deadly habits, numerous other factors influence cardiovascular health that receive inadequate attention from the medical community. Emerging research suggests that environmental toxins, certain prescription medications, and even some common nutritional supplements may impact heart health in ways previously unrecognized. For instance, recent studies indicate that microplastics now found throughout our food and water supply may contribute to arterial inflammation. Growing evidence suggests that certain artificial sweeteners might negatively affect cardiovascular health, despite being marketed as heart-healthy alternatives to sugar. Even commonly prescribed medications for conditions unrelated to heart health sometimes carry cardiovascular side effects that patients rarely hear about. The truth remains that your heart is not invincible, particularly after age 60, when it requires active support to maintain optimal function. Every habit discussed today lies completely within your control. You possess the power to choose life-supporting behaviors over life-threatening ones. Don't feel overwhelmed by attempting to change everything simultaneously. Begin with a single habit that resonated most strongly with you today and commit to changing it for the next 21 days. Your cardiovascular system will begin healing immediately, and you'll likely discover that additional positive changes become progressively easier as you build momentum. If you've found this information valuable, please consider supporting our channel through Super Thanks. Your financial contribution makes it possible for us to continue researching and sharing critical health information that most healthcare providers simply don't have time to discuss during brief appointments. Every contribution helps us reach more people who urgently need this information. But what about the other hidden factors potentially threatening your heart health? What additional silent dangers might be concealed in everyday products, common medications, or even supposedly healthy supplements? The secrets I'll reveal in upcoming videos might prove even more shocking than what you've learned today. Remember that knowledge without action changes nothing. Choose one habit to transform starting today. Your heart has been supporting you faithfully for decades. Now it's time to return the favor by making choices that support its continued health and function. Until next time, this is Dr. Richards, wishing you vibrant heart health and many more years of joyful living.